it works. All right. Always nervous about opening the presentation for the first time. Hey folks, I'm Aleks. I come from Cisco Talos full dev team. This is my third time at BSides Knoxville, I think. First time I came here 4 years ago. I did a talk about some exploitation mitigations bypasses that we did. I'm glad to be back and glad to talk about something that I've been doing recently. So what I'm actually going to talk about today is a bit of internet scanning, IPv6 scanning in particular. I'm going to go over why it's interesting, why it's troublesome. I'm going to go over how UPnP can be used to help us in that. And then I'm going to just show how we executed the scans, and at the end just show some results and analysis. So a little bit about why, just to quickly go through the previous work and the motivation for playing around with this stuff. With all of the advances in this internet speed, all of us have basically pretty high speed internet at home, and especially in the offices if you work for a networking company or something. So scanning the entire internet, the IPv4 internet, has kind of become simple. You can do it in a matter of hours, not weeks or days. And there are tools available for that, like Masscan and ZMap, which are specifically designed to use the high bandwidth availability and scan the networks really, really quickly. And that has led to some interesting research, because now you can quickly spin up a scanner, scan the whole internet, get some interesting results back about anything that you're interested in, and pour through those results. So some of the examples of internet scanning research results were the popular scans of for MongoDB and Redis databases around the internet. MongoDB and Redis are kind of not meant to be exposed to the open internet. So some folks did a full scan of all the IPv4 addresses, found a bunch of Redis and MongoDB databases open completely for abuse. That was obviously not good. Then you had high-profile vulnerabilities like Heartbleed, where researchers were running repeated networking scans all over the internet, trying to gauge the exposure to this vulnerability, as well as to gauge the patch adoption rates and kind of measure what's going on the internet regarding this particular vulnerabilities. And then on the other side, we had things like Mirai botnet, which kind of infected a bunch of IoT devices and end-user consumer devices just by testing for default credentials and spreading around by just scanning the internet. All of these things are basically possible because it's relatively feasible to scan the whole IPv4 internet in a matter of hours. Us ourselves in Talos have done some of our scans of our own before with Memcache. A couple of years ago, I found some interesting vulnerabilities in Memcache, which is a caching database, caching server. And similarly to Redis, it's not supposed to be exposed to the network directly. But there were hundreds of thousands of hosts out there just listening for connections for Memcache. So what we wanted to do in this work was scan the whole internet and see how many of those hosts were actually vulnerable to the bugs that we found. And then repeat the same scan a couple of months later, see how much that improved, and do that over time to just kind of get the feel of how quickly patches are being adopted and get some results from that. And that's all nice and dandy with IPv4 internet, but one problem with IPv4 is that it has limited address space. We've been running out of IPv4 addresses since early '80s, I guess. It's been an impending doom of running out of IPv4 addresses. And to elevate that, we have IPv6, which was, again, designed in the late 90s, I guess, to elevate that problem by switching over to 128-bit addresses. That makes the address space astronomically huge, and on the other hand, makes exhaustive scans of the whole IPv6 internet infeasible. Not only is the number of addresses huge, they're sparse. The whole list is sparsely populated, so you can't just start from one and go to the next one and incrementally scan them, because it will take forever, literally forever, and you'll never get anything interesting. So we need to be a bit clever when we want to scan the IPv6 internet. The first thing that you need to do when you want to scan something on IPv6 internet is to gather a list of active hosts, of addresses that are currently in use. So you can basically target those. You can just scan the whole address space like you did with IPv4. So in order to do that, you need to be a bit clever. And some folks in the past have done different interesting things to kind of unmask the active hosts, IPv6 hosts that are present on the internet. For example, Shodan project set up a bunch of NTPD servers on the internet, which got added to public pools for NTP, which were used in Linux distributions. And so they ended up having a bunch of Linux server connecting to them to ask for network time updates, and thus divulge their IPv6 connectivity and IPv6 address. So Shodan would then make a list and scan those back. There's this other project called IPv6 hit list, which publishes daily updated list of aggregated list of active IPv6 addresses from different sources. And what they do is they use some of the public information, like certificate transparency logs. They crawl certificate transparency logs for newly registered certificates to come up with new IPv6 addresses from there. They use RIPE Atlas sensors to gather information from there, and many other tricks. Some of them require privileged network position, some of them don't, but they just aggregate the list, which is like several millions of active IPv6 addresses, which you can use as a basis for further scanning. And then in similar fashion, project IPv6 Farm has published a couple of papers. This research comes from the folks at UCSB. And what they did was abuse a couple of quirks of DNS, specifically DNSSEC and NSEC3, to offline enumerate active IPv6 hosts, basically, to come up with additional addresses to scan. So in order to scan the IPv6 internet, we need to do something clever to get the actual addresses back. And to do that, we're going to go and see how UPnP can help us with that. Okay, how UPnP comes into play here. But first, just a quick overview of what UPnP is. Everybody's pretty much familiar with it, but it just bears repeating in a couple of sentences. UPnP stands for Universal Plug and Play, and its main purpose was to basically serve as a network discovery protocol and as a NAT traversal protocol. That's its main uses. It's meant to be link local, so there's no point of there being any internet-wide UPnP traffic. As I mentioned, it's network discovery protocol. When a new device connects to the network, it announces to the whole network, hey, I'm here on this network, and these are my capabilities. If you want to talk to me, this is how to do it. And that's what UPnP is used for mainly. There's no use for that over the whole of internet, but nevertheless, there are millions and millions of hosts on the internet listening for UPnP traffic, parsing it, and responding to packets. This has led to a bunch of abuses because the protocol itself wasn't designed to be used on the internet. It can be easily abused for a bunch of things. So in the past, it has been abused for DDoS amplification. This protocol runs on port 1900 UDP. So since it's UDP, you can do all sorts of interesting spoofing and so on, and get your DDoS amplification attacks going. And it can also mostly abused for info leaks. It doesn't have any authentication, so you can just talk to the device, and some of the devices support interesting queries like, okay, give me your local network layout or something like that. You can get interesting information about the local network from the UPnP endpoint. Martin Zeiser and I actually did some work with UPnP before. We presented some client-side attacks in the UPnP software. And if anybody remembers my talk from like 4 years ago, here I was talking about bypassing some stack smashing protections for a particular bug in mini UPnP implementation back then. But okay, how does that come into play for us? How can that help us in this case? The most important bit of UPnP is this notify packet. As I mentioned earlier, when a device connects to a network, it would send this notify packet to a multicast address. So sends a single packet to everybody on the network saying, hey, I just connected on this network, and the packet looks like this, basically. The important part of this packet is the location header, which has a URL, and that URL points to an XML document. That particular XML document explains all the capabilities of that particular device. So say you connect TV on your network. It will announce its presence and say, okay, I'm TV. If you want to take a look at what I can do, fetch this XML, parse it, and it will tell you that I can be used for streaming or something like that. So this gives us an ability to kind of force network hosts to fetch, to visit the URL, basically, and fetch data from. So we had a bit of, we were thinking about something, and we wanted to do these internet-wide scans of IPv6, so we came up with a bit of a clever bit. So we asked ourselves, what would happen if we replaced the URL, if in the location header, we replaced the destination host or target host in the URL instead of using the actual IPv4 address of the particular host that sent this notify packet. What if it instead places an IPv6 address there? Would the receiving party actually try and connect over IPv6 to fetch that XML? And the answer is yes, basically. And with just a little bit of cleverness, by adding the target IPv4 address to the end of the location header, we can actually, as a result, get a HTTP request on our side, back on our side, on our IPv6 HTTP server, with enough information so that we can connect the two addresses. We can tell, okay, we sent the UPnP notify packet to this IPv4 address, but the request came back from the IPv6 address, so we know those two addresses belong to the same host. And what's the plan with this? So remember what I said, there's millions and millions of hosts on the internet listening for UPnP traffic. If some of them happen to have both IPv6 and IPv4 connectivity, and we send them this packet, and they accept it and parse it, they would make a HTTP request to our controlled web server. We can log the data and get some interesting info. So, what do we actually get from this? Once the target actually parses the UPnP packet and decides to fetch that piece of XML, it will make an HTTP request. And we'll log that request, and we can see in our web logs that we have, here in orange, first we have the IPv6 address from which the request came for, and because we embedded the IPv4 address in the request itself, we can connect the two, and we now have an IPv6 and IPv4 address pair. So we can conclude it, okay, we have one host and it has these two addresses running on the same host. What that enables us to do is then to maybe scan both sides and see if there are any discrepancies, make so on. Also, an interesting bit that we get from this HTTP request is that most UPnP implementations happily include some interesting information in the agent header of their HTTP request. So as you can see here, we have some information about the versions and libraries used. So we can do some interesting analysis later. All right. So let's now go through how we actually execute this scan, because it has a couple of interesting quirks. The scan itself, all the scans that we did, consist of two phases basically. In the first phase, we want to get those address pairs. We want to make a pair of IPv4 and IPv6 address pairs that belongs to the same host. And to do that, we use this UPnP notify trick to get the host to divulge their IPv6 address. To do that, we modified Masscan, which is a network scanner optimized for speed. We modified it so that we can do dynamic packet generation, in that for each host on the internet, it will generate different packets, and it will basically generate a UPnP notified packet with a different location header for each one. In that location header, we include an IPv6 address of our web server, and at the end, we include an encrypted IPv4 address. Encrypted IPv4 address of the target. So again, once we get it back, we know where it came from. In case we're doing it encrypted, just because if someone caught wind of what we were doing while executing the scans and started polluting our data with just sending garbage, we can actually authenticate the correct results by virtual decrypting. So we take Masscan, scan the whole internet, send a single UDP packet to every single IPv4 address out there, excluding some IPv4 address that you're probably not supposed to talk to. And then just wait for the HTTP request to come back, log all the HTTP requests, and then decrypt this IPv4 address part. After we're done with that, we get something like this. This is what we log basically. So here we can see the host field. Host field shows us the IPv6 address of the target, which the target disclosed to us. We can also see the IPv4 address. So okay, we have that there. We also have some timing data and stuff. And interestingly, we have user agent. So now, if we have all these address pairs, we can continue to the next phase. And in the next phase, after collecting all these address pairs, we basically hypothesized that what we would see, since we have this ability to see both IPv4 and IPv6 side of dual hosts, we hypothesized that we would see on occasions where there was firewall in place on IPv4 side, because it was properly understood and properly configured. But in some cases, people might not actually know that they have IPv6 connectivity and therefore not have a firewall in place for it. So there will be less filtering on IPv6 side. And that's what we were set out to do here, to kind of prove that that was the case. In order to do that, we took those IPv4 and IPv6 address pairs and ran parallel nmap scans against all of the hosts in our database. We scanned for open top 100 TCP, most popular top 100 TCP ports out there. The scan executed on both sides, and then we collected the logs and diffed the logs for differences in open ports or filtered ports. So the question immediately was, okay, will we find a host where we have that discrepancy, where something is firewalled on the IPv4 side and it's still open on the IPv6 side? And the answer was yes, we did find a bunch of hosts that have that. So here's an example of how that would actually look like. Sorry to have it masked where you can't actually see the addresses, because it's somebody's DNS server after all, and it's still there. I don't want to. want to give people ideas. But in the first First ZMap run, we scan the IPv4 address for port 135, which is the Windows RPC port. You probably don't want to expose Windows Windows Samba shares and Windows networking on the open internet. There are occasions when you do, but it's usually not the case. So on the IPv4 side, we can see it properly filtered. We can't connect to that port. But if we rerun the scan second time on the IPv6 for the same port, we can see that it's open. And okay, from this masked addresses, you can't really tell that it's the same host. But if the IPv6 address was unmasked, we could see that it's using something called 6-to-4 transitional technology to come up with its IPv6 address. And you actually have the IPv4 address embedded into the IPv6 address, so we can actually tell, okay, these are the same. In other instances, we could just grab the SSH fingerprints and figure out that they're the same host and so on, in the different tricks. So this is what we get, and then we'll get to the results. But before I get to the results, I will just mention a quick side note, something interesting that I ran into while doing this. So I was testing different parameters of the scan, different packet sizes, different destination and source ports, trying to find the optimal configuration for the scan where I would get the most results. And while I was doing that, I was using my scanning box is somewhere in Central Link network, and my target box at the time was on the Hetzner network hosted in Germany. So they have, it just so happens this Level3's network is their route between them. And while testing, I noticed that if my packet grew larger than 300 bytes, which some of the things that I wanted to do actually required, my packets would never get delivered. They would just stop somewhere. So I needed to investigate, because this, just increasing the size of the packet, half my results. And that's obviously bad. So I needed to investigate a bit, and to do that, I use HPaint, which is I guess old but slightly forgotten tool. It's super useful for network diagnostics, I guess. And what you have here is, at first, I'm sending a UDP packet to port 1234, and the packet size is 300 bytes, just filled with nothing. Packet size is 300 bytes, and importantly, it has set time to live for the packet to 3. So what I expect here to happen is the packet will go 3 hops away from me, and I'll get the notification that the packet died. And that's exactly what we get from somewhere in Level3's network. We got a TTL of 0 during transit from this and there, and the packet died. So this is what you would expect. Can you still hear me? I didn't notice this thing. I'm just not going to touch it. All right. So that works. That's what we expect. But if we send the exact same packet to port 1900, we don't get nothing back. So something is dropping these packets dead, and the only difference is the port. So this port is pretty specific to UPnP. So what that leads me to conclude is that Level3 is actually doing UPnP filtering. Probably came up with the idea of doing it because they had issues with DDoS attacks and all of that. And as I mentioned, there's really no purpose in UPnP over the internet. So maybe lazy but good-spirited filtering on their side. And I guess I can't be certain that it's a Level3 issue, but that's just where I noticed it. It might actually be about preventing some popular version of a DDoS attack. But it's a good thing I caught it, because otherwise they would have different results, obviously. And now without further ado, let's go through some numbers and see where we go. Okay, so we execute a bunch of these scans because most of the devices that we saw coming back coming back to us with the request ended up being end consumer devices. So like your home routers, IoT devices, cameras, media servers, and something like that. And by virtue of being end user devices and consumer devices, they're usually tied to a dynamic IPv4 address, which changes occasionally. So once we start the scan, start the first phase of the scan, and conclude the first phase of the scan, our data starts to degrade pretty damn quickly. So in a matter of, I don't know, a day or two, all the addresses have changed, so you have to repeat the scan. So we kept doing these scans over and over again until we were satisfied with what we were getting. And all in all, between different scans, we got about 12,000 unique replies. So we got 12,000 unique IPv4 and IPv6 address pairs. So that's not a huge number, but kind of disappointing on one hand, but on the other hand, not really surprising because we had some really tight constraints on this thing actually working. But first, we need a host out there on the IPv4 with the public IPv4 address, which is not that common listening for UPnP port 1900. It had to handle UPnP. It had to request a URL. So once it handles UPnP, it had to actually get out and request our URL or visit our URL. So no outbound filtering in that host. And it also needed to be dual home, so it needed to have public IPv6 address. And as I mentioned, what we got in response were mostly consumer devices, like cameras, network attached storage devices, and interestingly, torrent boxes. Those, for some reason, have URL. So, since there are a couple of ways you can generate IPv6 addresses, like there are different ways of your system configuring or choosing an IPv6 address once it's trying to connect to the internet. We can basically recognize those and do some, see what's the usual thing that we see. So what we saw were 8% of the hosts were using this thing called 6-to-4, which I mentioned before is a transitional technology that basically tunnels IPv6 through IPv4. So 6-to-4 IPv6 addresses have an actual IPv4 address embedded inside it, which is easy to spot and easy to parse for. That was kind of interesting. Previous versions of Windows, like Windows 7, used to use this thing called Terrio as a transitional technology to enable IPv6 networking on non-IPv6 compatible networks. It's also a tunneling kind of technology. And we saw maybe about 1% of the folks actually using this. On the other hand, the most prevalent one was EUI 64, which is basically IPv6, coming up with IPv6 address based on your MAC address, which is not good for privacy. You're leaking your MAC address all over the internet if you're using EUI 64 to generate the public IPv6 address. It's okay on link local, but not in general. And the interesting part about this is that we can actually get some interesting information about the manufacturer, because MAC addresses are tied to the manufacturers, and then we can judge what the device itself is actually doing. So here's a top 10 list of device manufacturers that we saw. Nothing surprising here, a bunch of media devices, embedded devices that you find on the networks. Like, okay, in the case of Huawei, I can't really tell what the device is actually doing, except that it came from Huawei, but when I see Synology, I can pretty much conclude it's network attached storage or something similar. In either case, it's just interesting to see what's up there. So going further from that, I mentioned previously that some UPnP implementations are pretty happy about including version strings and OS names and versions in their user agent string. So when they connect to our HTTP server, we actually see what they're running, which also lets us conclude what type of device we're talking to. And like large majority of the devices were just Linux or Android devices out there. And again, from the version names, we can judge they're mostly cameras, security cameras, network attached storage, and a large amount of smart TVs. Which is interesting. Why would you want to have your TV talk over IPv6 with the whole internet? But it just happens. Interestingly, all of the Windows hosts were actually torrent clients, and that's because Windows' implementation of UPnP is really locked down. It doesn't leak a lot of information. It doesn't talk to just everybody out there. So you rarely see Windows box misconfigured in such a way that it will actually talk to UPnP to you without the validation. So these Windows boxes that we saw were actually running like third-party torrent clients like Azure or BitTorrent or something, which include their own version of UPnP into them and just expose that. Since we can actually see the versions of the UPnP and types of libraries that they're embedding in these applications, we also had no surprises there. Leave UPnP is by far the most popular, which makes sense because that's the reference implementation of UPnP. It's a relatively small library, easy to embed and easy to use, so that was hugely popular. What was kind of surprising was that the most popular version of UPnP was 1.6.18, which came out in 2013 and has had a couple of very severe vulnerabilities found in it since. So that's it. On the second place, there's obviously mini UPnP, which I mentioned previously as coming out of it myself. Mini UPnP is also aimed to be very small, easy to embed. It's a single library, it has its own XML parser, so it's very popular with underpowered devices, basically. And what we saw there was that the most common version was 1.9, which came out in 2004. And as I mentioned previously, in 2016 or 15, we published some really interesting vulnerabilities in it, which were easy to exploit. That's also not good. Kind of not surprising, but obviously not good. And then a bunch of miscellaneous Java implementations, which I believe run on Android. So that we didn't have. Here's a couple of examples of common operating systems and libraries that we saw. So we happily see UPnP including the OS version and the kernel version, or Android version, current Android build. What we see here is that, and if you Google for these, you can actually pick up that these particular versions are part of major releases of Android, for example. So vendor standardizes of one branch and just doesn't change anything. So you can actually get detailed sources, like exact copy of the sources that they're running on the device, which is particularly interesting in some of the Linux branches, I guess. Judging on the OS side, majority or more than half, but this is actually less than half, a lot of hosts run Linux. As mentioned previously, either Linux or Android. But interestingly, we could see that about 4,200 hosts run Linux 3.0, which is an older release, obviously. Followed closely by 3.10, which is with 3,900 hosts, which is also old. And I was surprised to find that so few hosts actually run a newer version, newer than 4.x. But on the other hand, there was a handful of hosts still running which is pretty damn old right now. And I guess that part is not so less surprising because 2.6 is hugely popular with some of the embedded distributions, like OpenWRT used to be stuck with 2.6 for quite a while, so that's probably the reason for it. And on the Android side, most of the devices that we could actually identify as Android were running 5.1.1, which is also old, I guess. And we had about 100 hosts running Android 8. So nothing too surprising here. We expect that kind of feedback because by virtue of the device being misconfigured to listen on the open internet, we're going to find a bunch of outdated devices. But I guess it's worth confirming. Okay. The main question that we had once we set out to do this was, could we find those hosts with filtering discrepancies? Can we find hosts which have more ports open on the IPv6 side compared to the IPv4 side? And as I mentioned previously, there was the case. We found a bunch of them. Well, we found about 3% of all the hosts we scanned had more ports open on the IPv6 side than they did on IPv4. And those ports included, the majority of those ports were HTTP, FTP, or Samba shares, or SMB shares, which is, Samba shares is probably something that you don't want inadvertently disclose. So that was actually the case. I expect these numbers would be even larger if we were to expand this scan to top 1,000 popular TCP ports. We just haven't done that because of the time constraint, basically. Top 1,000 scan would take 10 times as long. And to conclude, basically from these results, we can draw some conclusions, some not that surprising, some interesting. Obviously, UPnP is not going away. That thing is going to be found on the open internet, is going to be abused for years to come. Unintended IPv6 connectivity is a problem. And what I mean with unintended IPv6 connectivity is where you pick a device, plug it into your home network, and it actually gets an IPv6 address, but you don't know about it. You might actually have IPv6 connectivity at home, but you don't actually know that you do, because your ISP might be experimenting with it, or your router might be using some tunneling technology, but it just so happens, as evidenced by the results that we found. This is likely even a bigger problem than our research shows, because remember, all we could do here is scan public IPv4 Internet, send this UPnP packet to public IPv4 Internet, and get the request back. I imagine there are many, many more devices who have private IPv4 addresses, but have public IPv6 addresses, and we just couldn't directly talk to them. There are some tricks that you could do, but we didn't do that here. So I imagine that the problem would be even larger if we somehow provide a way to talk to private IPv4 addresses, but that's also okay. Obviously, what we saw was outdated software everywhere. These misconfigured devices are largely forgotten and neglected, basically. And most importantly, this shows us that we need novel techniques for finding those active IPv6 hosts on the open internet if we are to continue doing interesting IPv6 research. I mentioned previously the IPv6 hit list project, which aggregates the results of some different IPv6 address gathering projects. And they publish a daily updated list of active IPv6 hosts. So we compared our results with their list and found only, out of all 12,000 hosts we got, only like 50 of them were in their list. So we, even though our resulting data set was relatively small, we found a completely distinct set of IPv6 addresses to what's already publicly available. And you can imagine that there are many, many other distinct sets which aren't current. So employing different techniques could lead to discovering even more codes. And we intend to actually continue this work in some similar directions. And with that, that would be all I have to say. And I think we'd have some time for questions, I guess. All right. And questions? Yep. All right. Thank you very much for listening.